English translation, 73rd contact. Monday, 7th of February, 1977, 1834 Troy Chars.
You have called me very quickly.
A number of things have come up that require this.
Then let us hear it.
Okay, last Saturday we talked about the center to be created, and suddenly, out of the blue, the property in Schmidruti, or Hinterschmidruti, that I had known since my childhood came to my mind, which was selected as suitable, and which I had completely forgotten. How I suddenly came across it again is a mystery to me. Anyway, I explained everything to the others, and so we telephoned the owners of the house. Strangely enough, it was said that the house in question had been empty for almost a week and was to be sold, after which we went to see the property on Sunday. This is the house that I had.
Sunday, 6th of February, 1977. Group picture from the first visit to Hinterschmidruti from left to right. Claire Fry, Olga Walder, Amata Stetter, Herbert Runkel, Margaret Flammer, Elsie Moser. Photo, Bernadette Brand. View of the house and garage from the pulpit. Photo, Bernadette Brand. View from the pulpit onto the coach house and the house garden. Photo, Bernadette Brand. The first transport of building materials in front of the house. To the left of the truck, Jakob Bertschinger Sr. and his son, Jacobus. Photo, Billy. On the left in the picture, the old coach house. In the foreground, the old house garden, today a seating area. Photo, Billy.
You told me once more than a year ago, I know. You have really forgotten. I wanted to help you a little and tried to find a suitable property for you. In these efforts, I also came across the property you mentioned then and found that it was exactly the right time to access it, so I let impulses penetrate you that reminded you of this predetermined property and urged you to inform yourself immediately afterwards, because it really is the predetermined building, and therefore the very best property and the most suitable place where you can build the center. You cannot be safer than that in this country if you do exactly what we advise you to do according to our instructions.
We thought something similar, because I could not really explain why I was reminded of it at just the right moment. It is inexplicable to me how we can raise all this money, because the construction costs a lot.
Let us fly there. I want to make some things clear to you. If you are clear about everything to come, and all of you want to make provisions not only for this life but also for the next, then you will know how to raise the necessary capital and will be able to do so. Some of you are already knowing enough that you will be able to participate decisively in this, so that you can certainly acquire and build the center.
Are you so sure?
Yes, even if some people still have some doubts. Each one must become clear and know that for the first time since their origin, they have 100% certainty in the determination of their incarnation and place of birth, and can therefore already now provide for their later life as a new personality. But this exception is only because the great mission is connected with it, because normally, the course of evolution for the determination of the next place of birth would still take many thousands of years. Those who therefore now strive for it under our guidance gain an unheard-of advantage and the possibility of a faster evolution, which advances them after the next life by about 124 years in the consciousness and spirit evolution, whereby they become an elite, which slowly evolves in later times as spiritual leadership for the earth, after which the spiritual leadership of the earth can then be carried out by them.
All sorts of things.
Sure. But everyone determines their own future, and so they have also determined for themselves that they were chosen for their future on the basis of their merits, and that also applies to those members who will fall away again.
Well, that is understandable, but say, can I not actually talk to my people from here via the radio?
You have already tried it several times, but you did not succeed. So, down there is the property. Now listen carefully.
Simyase explained that the property Hinterschmidruti could be moved into with my help on the 7th of April, 1977, 2 months after the visit with her, and that it would be bought by the Freie Interessengemeinschaft in 1978 at the beginning of the year, spring, and developed into a center, despite enormous difficulties and intrigues and group traitors.
So then I thought, right?
Sure.
Okay, then I will explain it to everybody like this. But now to the radio again. So you got the point that I had pressed the talk button each time?
Sure, but the ship absorbs everything and you cannot penetrate out with your device. Look here, connect your antenna here, then you can talk and have connection with the other devices.
Aha, is that right?
Sure.
Then I can talk now?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Would you like to say hello?
No.
Then just do not.
Short conversation with Muranos 5 and Muranos 3, which is repeated several times during the next 20 minutes.
You could have told me a long time ago that you noticed my useless attempts.
You should have asked me.
I know, but I wanted to try. I just had to.
Sure, you are tireless.
Certainly. But now something else. You recently explained to me so casually that you would give us a list of names for our descendants. Have you finished that yet?
No, but I will transmit it to you shortly.
Good. Ah, there is Cloten down there. What are you doing here?
I often watch these sluggish and dangerous flying apparatuses take off even now.
Uh-huh. Does the ship light up outside now?
Sure, but only weakly. But it still cannot be detected by radar.
Fantastic. Wait a minute. There, you see, there on the screen I have Muranos 3 again, that of Jacobus. He sits behind the wheel of his car and watches the sky far in front of him. Do you think he will see us? He is still on the road at the edge of the forest on the hill where I summoned him earlier.
Ask him. I will switch on the amplification system.
Okay, thanks. Well, Miranos 3, answer. Miranos 3, answer, Yael.
Yes, what is up?
Miranos 3, do you see us? We are hovering right above Cloten Airport now.
Yes, I see you, but only very faintly.
Wait, we are making stronger light. Simyase, please let the box shine.
Miranos 1, now I see you very well.
That was good, girl. Thank you. You know what?
You smile so comically.
Of course, I have one of my crazy ideas. What do you think if you just let me slide down in front of Jacobus's car when you bring me back?
Would that be fun for you?
But for sure. You know, I want to see his astonished face.
As you like, but I will let you float through the mechanical teleporter. This is a teletransmitter.
What is that again?
It is a transmitter in the field of dematerialization and rematerialization. All you have to do is climb into the shaft as usual, and I trigger the transmission, which will cause you to appear directly in front of your friend's car at the same moment as if you had grown out of the ground.
Okay, this will be a gag. Can we fly back now?
Sure.
Well, then one more question on the return flight. Should we really make an effort for the property in question? You know, there are some inhabited houses about 300 meters away.
As if by magic.
Fantastic experience with Eduard Meier Billy in connection with Simyase and her beamship. It was on the 7th of February 1977 at about 18 HE hours when I, Jacobus Bertschinger, drove together with Eduard Meier towards Ottikon for an announced contact with the beamship pilot, Sim Yase. I parked my car in a forest path. Then Edie got out and moved off southeastwards to go to the contact site. Waiting. I remained alone in the car until, after about 15 minutes, I was unexpectedly addressed by my friend through the radio. That is to say, I felt addressed, because Edie was obviously trying to make contact with the house station, but he obviously did not succeed because the station was not manned at the moment. In addition, his voice could only be heard very faintly on the radio, which is why I called in, after which a connection was made. But I pointed out to my friend that the connection was very bad and that he could hardly be heard. He replied that he was in Sim Yase's beamship, and that was why the connection was bad. Sim Yase would change this in a moment. It took only seconds before Edie answered again, but now his voice was clear, calm, and deep. The pitch of the voice was lower than usual, but the connection was now perfect. Edie explained to me that he could see me clearly on a visual screen in the ship and that I should now change my location. He would redirect me by radio to a new location. Accordingly, I started the engine of my car and, following Billy's instructions, drove to the new location, which was on a hill at the edge of a forest, from where I had an excellent panoramic view. From there I could look down on the wide surroundings, so I could see far ahead with Ottikon and far to my left Herr Schmetten. If I looked straight ahead from my hilltop position, I could see the sea of lights of Dubendorf-Schwarmendingen and of Oerlikon. Lost in thought, I sat behind the valance and stared out into the bright night. Suddenly, Edie's deep voice sounded again from the radio, asking me if I could see the ship, because they were now right over Cloughton Airport. And indeed now I could see it, albeit only quite faintly as an oval disk of light, which is why I objected to this lack of visibility. Edie just laughed and said that Sim Yase would immediately make more light so that I could see the ship better. It then took only 2 or 3 seconds before the distant ship suddenly began to glow radiantly, and I could see it clearly. Now I could also clearly observe how the ship slowly flew away in the direction of Zurich until it disappeared. After some time of waiting and getting tired of the radio silence, I tried to contact my friend in the beamship, but unfortunately without success. Still holding the radio microphone in my right hand, I looked down towards Oerlikon. And again I tried to establish radio contact. Suddenly I cringed, because out of nowhere, as if by magic, a human figure was standing in front of the car on the right. It was as if it had grown out of the ground in a flash. Dear reader, I am sure you cannot imagine that my physiognomy, my thoughts, and my emotional world suddenly changed and were no longer on the same track as they had been a short time before. Now, as I stared perplexedly at the human figure in its full size, I also heard my friend's voice again from the radio. "I am already here, comrade." Then I knew where I was. In front of the car was my friend. He came to the car and sat down in it, grinning all over his face, and with the comment, "You are amazed, aren't you?" Which of course I could not deny, because the amazement of the crazy appearance was still written all over my face, and for a long time. Then I started asking questions, because I wanted to know where my friend Edie had suddenly come from, and I wanted to know everything. How, what, why, and where. I simply wanted to know how it was possible for him to suddenly appear out of nowhere 2 or 3 meters in front of my car. Edie grinned at me and told me that he had heard me shouting in the ship before he climbed into the exit shaft to let Sim Yase put him in front of my car directly above my car at a height of about 8 meters by means of a teleporter beam, simply because he had asked Sim Ya-se to do so in order to be able to see my rather stupid face for once, when he suddenly, and as if by magic, appeared directly in front of me. Unfortunately, however, he had failed to do so because he was unable to recognize my face in the car due to the darkness. Well, for my part, I was probably very surprised by what happened. But on the other hand, I am not the least bit surprised by what happened, because Edie often thinks of such crazy things, and he amazes many human beings by doing so. He has also done crazier things. You just have to get used to it with him. As I was sitting in the car, I was unfortunately not able to see the ship above in any way, because it was hovering directly above me at a height of about 8 meters. Only when Edie was already sitting next to me again, I could observe a bright light that quickly moved away in the direction of Forge westwards. In spite of everything, I would now like to apply an old saying to Edie, namely that you cannot have the nickel and the dime. The surprise is well done, but you could not see my astonished face. Now, after the light had disappeared from the horizon, we drove back to Hinwil. Suddenly, however, before the junction of Stoppstrasse and Hauptstrasse, at the level of the Von O garage, Edie rushed me and explained that I should drive quickly to his house, because Sim Ya-se had just told him that she would be passing over Hinwil from the west, heading east with her beamship shining brightly. Already used to such things from him, I looked westwards, but could see nothing but the facades of houses in front of me. So I stepped on the gas and sped out onto the main road towards Wetzikon. A minute later, we were outside the village, and that's when I saw it. Coming from the west, a football-sized, extremely bright object was approaching, directly towards Hinwil. Adi did not let me enjoy the spectacle, though, because he told me to go to his house immediately, because there we could better observe Sim Ya-se's flyby. Well, he had to know better than I did, so I stepped on the gas again, and 2 minutes later we reached his house, as he had already informed his family by radio. They stood in front of the house and watched the approaching Sim Ya-se ship, which shone like a small full moon. On the streets in the neighborhood, various groups of people stood and stared, wordlessly at the passing and completely silent flying ship before it disappeared after about 3 minutes in a northeasterly direction behind a wooded hill range. Afterwards, we went into the house to drink the coffee Edie had asked his wife to make over the radio after he had been back in my car following his sudden appearance out of nowhere. I can always vouch for the correctness and truthfulness of the information I have given here, even at the risk of being called a crank. However, truth remains truth. There is nothing to shake about that.
It is the most suitable property for you, and the houses built nearby may belong to your center in the not-too-distant future.
That is loud and clear. Ah, here we are. Then I want to say farewell. Take care, girl. Many thanks and all the best.
Miranoswano, answer. Miranoswu, answer.
Your friend is calling. Go and goodbye.
Take care.
Miranoswan, answer.
Yes, here I am already, comrade.
In a moment, I have disappeared from the ship and am suddenly standing in front of the car on the street as if grown out of the ground.